Hello and welcome to the introduction videos for ethics, the study to what the right thing is to do. This question is to be asked in lots of different situations. For instance, as you can see in this article, sometimes doctors or nurses need to make hard decisions, especially in these times of a pandemic. They need to make choices in some countries about who gets treatment and who's not. Whatever you think about these situations, these doctors need to make a decision. They need to make a good decision. So what is the right thing to do for these doctors in these situations where there is actually no good option, only two bad options? Other example, autopilot cars are on the rise, cars that assist or take entirely the role of the driver, and sometimes those autopilot cars seem to make wrong decisions. The decision making of cars is within the field of ethics as well. You want to program machines in a way that they make the right decisions, and that involves lots of questions also for the engineers. Last example, if you look at your private life, if you think of the idea of borrowing money from people in your surroundings or friends or lending money, that involves lots of times difficult questions. If someone doesn't pay back on time, what to do? Can you ask interest, yes or no? All kinds of delicate questions that are within the field of ethics because it asks the question, what is the right thing to do? In this video, I won't talk about too much stuff. It's just an introduction video. I will talk about the example test and the RTTI system at this school. And we're talking about the first theory, and that's the ethical perspective and the definition of ethics. This overview, you can pause the video if you like, is the whole test. It will be identical to the test you will get in the test week. It's an introduction body conclusion system, and you need to write an analysis on an ethical case or a dilemma or a problem, as I say. So these questions are identical, and in the upcoming videos I will give you a walkthrough to all these questions. But the only thing that will be different in the test is that I will give you a story that you've never have seen. You need to make an analysis of an ethical dilemma that is new to you that we haven't practiced before. And during these videos, I will walk you through into one example of a possible dilemma just to show you how things work, how you write down good ethical answers. Right now we're going to have a look at the introduction. You need to explain why it's important to think from an ethical perspective. Question A, you need to give the definition of ethics, and you need to formulate the central ethical question. But that part, the last ethical question part, is something for the next video. So we're only covering A and B. So, what is the ethical perspective? What's the way you look at reality if you're looking from an ethical perspective? You can see the definition on top. An ethical perspective is an approach that people ought to act good. So they are supposed to act good. But you need to understand what the idea behind it is to give an easy answer to the question why it's important to think from an ethical perspective. The idea is that there are always multiple options. There is always an alternative. You can do something or you can choose not to do something. Lots of ethical occasions, very stereotypically, you can decide to run away or to dodge it. But in lots of cases, running away or random acts are rarely acceptable. Think back to the doctors in the example given. They cannot just do something. The families of people who are afflicted harm might sue you. Same thing for the car. Nobody likes to buy a autopilot car which makes random decisions. Nobody likes friends making random decisions as well. If you have in your birthday, you don't want to have friends making a last minute decision whether they go or not depending on the rain. All of that random decisions are likely to cause harm, and the ethical perspective is that you want to avoid that harm, because that's the other side. A wrong decision can cause irreversible harm in all different types. So, why to study ethics? The thing you're doing right now. Ethics is the science for causes, means, and goals of these good acts. So you know how to recognize what's good and what's not, and to improve your decision making. Because decision making is actually the core of ethics. Now, have a look at an example case, a probable ethical dilemma, an ethical dilemma that might be the basis of your test. This is a delivery guy, and the delivery guy could be a taxi driver, Uber taxi driver as well. It's just about a gig economy worker, someone who gets paid for every delivery they make or every taxi drive they make. And if they are falling ill, maybe because they have corona symptoms, they need to make a difficult decision. Do they stay home, running out of income, maybe needing to draw from their limited bank saving accounts, or do they go to work risking the health of the people who they're working with or their customers? It's a hard dilemma. So this example we run through in the upcoming videos, so it's worthwhile to have a look at that. Also for similar examples on the internet. Now, why it's important to act according to the ethical perspective. In a test, you need to repeat the definition of the ethical perspective. So reproduce, that's the R part of this question. And we're talking about question A of the test. And in this case, you can explain, or you could explain, you cannot act randomly because possible choices potentially cause harm of family and or customers. So the idea that you ought to act good is explained by saying what happens if you would not have that intention on your mind and you would just do something. You can see the word randomly and harm being yellow. These are the words that need to be highlighted in your answer or need to be applied in your answer for me to recognize that you're actually using theory in your answer instead of just doing something yourself randomly. That would be it for now. Next video is about how to formulate a good ethical question, including getting a good understanding of the values involved into an ethical dilemma.